Hey, how's it going? My name is Andy Monroe, the co-founder of Bullish Events. And in this video, I'm going to be walking you through a live event system that we built. I'm going to be doing it through a case study to show you that it's real. It's not made up, not fabricated, not hypothetical. This is a real live event system that we developed with a real coaching and consulting company. And when this system was able to help them grow from 250K in revenue to $30 million in revenue in just over 5 years. So let's dive right in. Now, I became a partner at Fund Launch back in May of 2020. At Fund Launch, we help people launch and scale investment funds. So pretty self-explanatory with the name Fund Launch. This picture right here is us in one of the co-founders' house. This is like his side bedroom, just building the business. And this was the team at the time. I believe I was number 3, and a few more people came on after that. But this was back in May of 2020. And at that time, we had done about 250K in revenue, which was pretty good, but we wanted to scale. We wanted to grow. We wanted to grow fast. So we decided to host our first live event in the fall of 2021. And the reason we did this is we went and we looked at what every other category king and industry leader was doing, and they were all hosting events. They were teaching about their different vehicles. Some were leadership coaches, some were life coaches, some were funnel coaches, some were marketing coaches, some were financial coaches. Whatever it was, they all had their different messaging, their vehicles that they were talking about, but they were all leveraging events to either acquire clients and make noise about their business, or to fulfill on clients and deliver value to their clients. So that was like the one constant between all of those different category kings and industry leaders, is they were all hosting live events. So we knew that if we wanted to be legit in this industry, especially because we were in the financial industry, we were a bunch of young 20-year-olds in this financial industry. And if some of you are familiar with the financial industry, there's a lot of gray hair there. So we need to position ourselves as some authorities in the industry. So we decided to host our first live event in fall of 2021. And this was a fulfillment event, meaning an event leveraged to fulfill on clients, provide value, and build a community within our brand. And this is actually a picture from that fulfillment event. I had to go back on Instagram and grab a screenshot. You can see like the carousel thing up here. But this was the first fulfillment event. There was about, maybe 75 people there, around 100, including staff. So if you look at this picture, maybe some of you think it's a big event, maybe some of you think it's a small event, but this was our first fulfillment event. And this was just a bunch of pre-existing clients that wanted to meet each other and connect and learn in person and build relationships with other people that were on the same journey as them, or on a similar journey as them. And that is what events do best. They just bring people together. They're on a similar journey, and they develop and foster connection, real, genuine connection, like real life stuff, not AI and virtual and online communities, like real community, real connection. And that's why we love in-person live events so much. So this is a picture from that first event, and this event allowed us to charge more for our services. So before the events, we were charging about I think we started around like $8,000 and up to $10,000 for a high ticket program. Once we introduced events, we were able to increase the price to $30,000, and they got access to, I think, 2 or 3 events per year. And the events really didn't cost that much. We just allocated the very small percentage of revenue generated from a client into this pool for events. And we were able to increase the prices, and the volume didn't really slow down because the events were so valuable and they weren't that expensive. So we were able to generate a lot more revenue and a lot more profit by increasing our prices because we introduced events. It also allowed us to build a community of super fans around our brand, people that would go and refer clients to us. They would go talk about us on social media. They would go and just spread the word of this movement that we were building at Fund Launch, which was awesome. Provide more value for our clients. Like, the most value you can provide for people is just to get them in a room, get them connecting, meeting other potential business partners, other people they could work with and learn from, and just teaching them the stuff that is working for you in real time. That's the thing about a course and coaching and stuff, is it gets outdated. But when you bring people together in person and you talk about what's working right now, that is so valuable. And then you also get to generate valuable assets for us this event generated valuable assets for us to use in marketing, fulfillment, etc. That's like one of the best parts about events, is when you host an event, like, you can't really fake that. You can't really, I guess in the future, maybe we can make AI videos that fake in-person events. That's going to be a scary time. But as of right now, you can't really fake that. And you can go and you can use it for marketing. You can go and repurpose it into different courses and coaching. You can just add it into different offers to make those offers more valuable. You can just post it on social media as authority and to boost your social proof. There's like so many different things you can do with these assets you generate from events. And this is what happened with this first event, is we really felt our status increase when we were able to go and promote this event online and show people, like, hey, we gathered 70 to 80 real clients here in person. Like, this is actually kind of hard to do. We did this, and it was very cool, and it really elevated our status and our brand. And then it also allowed us to finally build a real business, which is what we wanted to do. A lot in the coaching and consulting industry, like, yes, it's real business, but like, is it really? It's sometimes it feels like a fake business, and we wanted to build a real business that we were proud of, and live events allowed us to do that. And after that, we decided to host an acquisition event in Las Vegas, Nevada, because we saw a lot of these category kings and these industry leaders, like going back to what I was saying earlier, we saw them hosting live events. And I'd say like the top 10% were all hosting live events in like some way or another. But the top 1%, they were all hosting both acquisition events and fulfillment events. So they were leveraging events on the front end to acquire clients and events on the back end to fulfill on clients. So we knew if we wanted to get to that top 1% of our industry, we had to start hosting acquisition events. And like I said, an acquisition event equals leveraging events to acquire clients. Now, this is that first acquisition event in Las Vegas, Nevada. This is myself, Mason, and Bridger up on stage. You can see the little branding in the background, and these were all the attendees. It was a good time. Had my little walkie-talkie, my radio there. It was a good time. Felt super legit. And the result of this event was 1,200 attendees. We completely sold out. The room actually held, I think, like right on the dot, 1,200 attendees, or maybe even those like 1,100 attendees. So we actually sold this thing out and like filled the room, which was awesome. We positioned ourselves as the category kings of our industry. After that, there was like a moat built around the business, infinite amount of content assets to repurpose. That's what I was mentioning earlier about the valuable assets that come from events. It's just amazing. We acquired 45 high ticket clients from this event, which was awesome. And we generated over $3.6 million in revenue from ticket sales and high ticket upsales. So that was the result of this acquisition event. And once we saw the power of live events, we couldn't go back. We had finally cracked the code to scaling. Like we saw it. It was so clear now. And we saw why all of these other category kings and industry leaders got to where they were. It's because they started hosting live events. And we just understood it. It was so clear to us at that point. And since then, we had over 6,200 attendees come through our events, over $10 million in revenue generated from events. Fun Launch, established as a category king of their industry, turned our info business into a real movement, increased client retention. So we actually ran a really detailed analysis at one point, and we saw that 80% of our clients that renewed into our program, so that stayed in after a year, attended the events, all the in-person live events. The people that weren't attending the events were not renewing. The people that were attending the events were renewing. So that's why we started to push people into all these events and make them like the core of the program, is because it led to more renewals, more LTV, more revenue. It was truly amazing. We were able to scale from 50 to 100K per month to 800,000 plus per month, which was awesome. And then we generated over $30 million in revenue in just over 5 years. So that is what has happened since we decided to plug live events into the business of Fun Launch, that coaching consulting business. And these are just some pictures from those events that we've hosted. So you can see, we've done some bigger conferences, we've done some very small events, some mid-size events, kind of all over the place. So how can you actually do this for your business? Now, this is all cool and all, but how can you do it for yourself? So step number one is you want to determine the objective of the event. So you need to look at your business and see what would serve your business the best right now. Do you want to acquire clients, or do you want to fulfill on clients, or do you want to do both? When I say both, I don't mean doing an event that both targets client acquisition and fulfillment. We actually tested this one time and it didn't really go well. I would recommend separating them. So if you want to do an acquisition event, do an acquisition event. If you want to do a fulfillment event, do a fulfillment event. You can like tack them onto each other, but you don't want the same event to serve two different purposes. It's like you want to pick one objective for each event. If you want to do both, you host different events. That's actually what we recommend, like down the road, if you're ready for it. We call it the event flywheel system. It's having events on the front end and the back end of your business. It really creates like this amazing flywheel. That being said, a lot of our clients just start with one. You either start with a client acquisition event or a fulfillment event, and you can just pick which one would serve your business the best. So that's step number one. Step number two is determine the offer and the outcome. I know this is kind of like counterintuitive to maybe some of you who think like, oh, maybe I should like book the venue or start writing the content or start marketing the event. I got to fill the room. You want to start with the offer and the outcome. And the outcome is really like the transformation the attendee is going to experience at your event. And the reason you want to determine this stuff first is because all of this stuff is going to fuel your messaging, your marketing, the content, the whole experience of the attendee will be created from the offer and the outcome. That's like very important for this strategy to work. If you're doing fulfillment events, meaning you're just leveraging events to fulfill on your clients, you really only need to determine like the outcome and the transformation. You don't really need to have an offer for your fulfillment events. For most of our fulfillment events, we don't have an offer. Like sometimes we have like a higher ticket option that some people can like naturally ascend into, but most of the time we keep those things offer free just because people already like bought into a program to be there. But if you're doing an acquisition event, you want to determine the offer, the outcome, and the transformation before you do anything else. And then moving on to step number three, That's where you determine your avatar and your ICP. So here you want to determine exactly who your event is for and exactly who your event is not for. So you want to, draw in and include the people that your event is for and your marketing and your messaging and your positioning, but you want to push away the people that your event is not for because you want the right people. You want buyers and qualified attendees in the seats of your event. There's a very big misconception that there needs to be like your event needs to be big. Like, oh, I need to have 50 or 100 or 200 or 500 people in my event. And that's not true. You just want to have qualified attendees there. If I had to choose between 50 qualified attendees or 2,500 unqualified attendees, I would choose 50 qualified attendees every single day. So that should be like one of the biggest goals for your event is just to get qualified people there, even if it's 5 or 10. I would much rather have that than 50 to 100 unqualified attendees. So determine your avatar and your ICP. And then step number 4 is you want to determine the messaging and positioning of your event. So you can see all of this stuff is kind of leading up to this point. You have the objective, you have your offer and your outcome and your transformation, you have your avatar and your ICP. At this point, you should be able to position and construct the messaging of your event and how it's perceived from attendees and how it's positioned in your market. And something that's important to do here is you want to go take a look at what other people are doing with their events. You want to position yours differently. You see this a lot with virtual events, especially. I know we're talking about like in-person live events here, but with virtual events, a lot of people will start hosting webinars and challenges and workshops, and it's really just copy and paste of what their competition is doing, and that just gets exhausted really fast. You don't want to do that with your events. You want to position it strategically. You want to be like this different, unique opportunity in your industry. Even if you have competitors that are like selling the same thing as you can still position your event to be different. And that is also like communicated through all the messaging as well. So that's step number 4. And step number 5 is actually filling your event. So getting people there. The marketing timeline for events kind of depends on how many people are going to be there, how expensive it is. There's a lot of different variables in there. Typically it falls around 4 months, but these are the different strategies that we have used to sell tickets for our events. There's media buying, which is Meta and Google ads, email campaigns, mini events like webinars and virtual events to promote in-person live events, special offers, affiliate campaigns, outbound calling campaigns, organic content. Cold outreach is one that I haven't done for events, but maybe you came through this funnel via cold outreach. So we do use it to book appointments and talk to people about our offer and our services. So it does work. I know cold outreach is one of the oldest marketing tactics in the book. So I'm sure it works for selling tickets as well. If you want to do a very lean option where you're not spending any money at all, you just want to do cold outreach, this is a great way to do it. Step number 5 is fill your event. So the best part about all of this is your event doesn't have to be 1,000 attendees. It doesn't have to be 500 attendees or even 100 attendees. Some of our most successful events have been 15 attendee retreats in a cabin in the woods. Like super simple, very casual, but super successful because the attendees had an amazing experience and achieved our internal objectives. So it doesn't have to be this big, massive experience. It could just be 10 or 15 people. And they also don't have to be expensive. So we have created events with a budget as low as $1,000. I'm actively planning an event right now where the budget is $1,000 and there's going to be 50, maybe even 100 attendees there. And the host gave us a budget of $1,000. I'm like, okay, we're going to make it happen. The budget does not determine the success of the event. So it's important for you to know, like, there's a lot of misconceptions in the world of events. Like, they have to be huge and they have to be expensive. They can be whatever you want them to be as long as they, serve your attendees and deliver a good experience for them and they achieve your objectives. And like the strategy does that, not the budget, not the size. That's very important for you to understand. We also have a few tricks up our sleeve for introducing revenue streams that pay for the event and increase profits, but that could be a whole other video. We won't dive into that now, but we do have a few little tricks that we like to deploy with our clients when we work with them on their events. So something I want to touch on before we wrap up here is why are events important in 2025? That's like a big thing to address here. And I believe heavily in live events. And I think live events are the future of the coaching consulting industry. So one, we're in a trust recession. Like, since you're a coach and a consultant, I'm sure you know that we're in a trust recession, and events build trust faster than any other acquisition vehicle. It's like more than sales calls, more than VSLs. Like, live events are the number one vehicle for building trust between yourself and your potential clients. And that's because you are just doing it. You're in person, shaking hands. You are like giving them value and like showing them who you are in person, and they get to experience your brand and your energy, and they get to like receive value from you in person. It's like it's in our genes. It's like we're like wow, that's a hard word to say. We are biologically engineered to connect with people and exchange goods and learn and do everything in person. Like all this virtual stuff, it's convenient, but it's like not who we're engineered. Like biologically, we need to be connecting in person. And this is a great way to like just remove yourself from the trust recession. Like if you don't even want to be included in the trust recession, like if you don't want to associate yourself with that, live events is definitely for you. And then the coaching consulting space is like very heavily saturated. I'm sure you know there are so many different coaching consulting companies out there. Like don't even get me started. But 95% of them aren't doing any in-person live events because, maybe they just want a cash grab. They don't want to actually, put that much effort into the business. Maybe they don't want to, serve their clients as much as they can. Maybe they just want it to be easy, whatever it is. Maybe they don't have any clients at all. So they're scared to bring people in person. That could be a potential possibility. Whatever it is, hosting live events for your business is a great way to stand out from 95% of the coaching consulting industry. Like if you just don't want to worry about one, the trust recession and also just the saturation of the coaching consulting market, start hosting live events because you'll just position yourself it'll just be, let go of that big cargo load of the bottom 95%. And you will immediately be in this whole other playing field of, elevated brands within the coaching consulting industry. So very cool asset there. Up next is live events are necessary for industry leader status. That's what I was talking to you about earlier when we had the epiphany at Fund Launch. Like if we wanted to be the industry leaders, if we wanted to actually build this real business that was competitive in our market, we had to start hosting live events. And that is still true to today. Live events will make your business real. Already touched on that. This one is very interesting. This is like I had this epiphany like 6 months ago, maybe a year ago at some point. And this kind of fuels like our mission right now. So you will be future-proofing your business against the rise of artificial intelligence. Information is not as valuable as it used to be. And like this is like in the early phases of artificial intelligence. Like, it's very powerful, but it's not perfect right now. AI hallucinates. There's some holes in it. Like it can't access like very up-to-date information. That being said, like what about a year from now or 2 years from now or 3 years or 5 or 10? AI is going to become so dialed in and like so good and so accurate that one day, like I guarantee this will happen one day. One, you'll just be able to ask it any question and you'll be able to get a nice, well curated, summarized answer to answer any question like that you want. It's going to be insane. But also, with the rise of AI agents, you can probably create like an AI agent coach where you tell the AI agent like what you want to happen. Like, oh, I want to make $10,000 a month with my e-commerce business. And the AI agent will like build this whole plan for you and like coach you along the way and like maybe send you weekly updates or weekly reports or weekly instructions. Or maybe you can like jump on and talk to it and like, it can like hear how it's going for you and then like tweak your plan based off the information that you're giving it. It's going to get so insane. All that being said, the information is not very valuable and it's not as gatekept as it used to be. And like coaching and information, virtually especially, is just not going to be as valuable as we get more and more integrated with AI. That being said, this is where you need to introduce live events because AI will never be able to replace live events and like the value that one receives from being in person with other human beings. Like that stuff is going to become so valuable as we begin to integrate AI into our lives and our businesses. So if you introduce live events into your business, you will be future-proofing your business against the rise of artificial intelligence. This was a quote from Sam Altman, who's the CEO of OpenAI. He was asked in an interview, what's your prediction about the future of the world with AI? Like, what do you have to say about this? That's obviously a paraphrase question, but he said there will be a premium on in-person experiences. So this is like the guy that's like driving the force of AI right now. He could have said anything he wanted about AI, about how efficient it's going to make our lives, how much value it's going to provide to us, how it's going to replace all of our jobs, how it's going to make, how we're going to be able to build like 7, 8, 9-figure businesses with just 3 employees because of AI agents and all that stuff. He could have said whatever he wanted. But he said that there's going to be a premium on in-person experiences, and I could not agree more. Like this is where the market is headed. In-person experiences are going to be like the most valuable things in the world in a couple of years because of how virtual and how AI fueled we're getting right now. Last thing, this is where the market is headed. Those that adapt will survive. I can't say that those that don't adapt will die because it's all speculation. I can't really prove that, and also it just seems a little intense. But I do know for a fact that those that adapt will survive. Now, why am I doing this? Like, why am I showing you this video right now? Why am I on this whole mission and talking about live events for high ticket coaching consulting businesses? Well, I run a full service live events company where I do all this for you. Maybe throughout this entire video, you've been thinking like, this sounds cool, but also sounds like a lot of work. I don't want to do the marketing. I don't want to do the creation, the fulfillment, logistics, the monetization, like the pitch, the offer, all that stuff just sounds like a lot. Like the good news is you don't have to, because we do this all for you. Like when we take on a client, we take care of the entire process, so that all you have to do is just focus on what you do best. You don't have to worry about any of the annoying heavy lifting stuff with the events. We take care of all of it so that you can just plug it into your business and leverage and reap the benefits that come along with the events. That's why I'm making this video and like showing you this vehicle of live events. That's the entire purpose. I want you to see how cool and how powerful live events are for coaching consulting companies. And if you want to hear more about how this would work for you and your business, just reply to this with a thumbs up. That's all you have to do. Just reply like a thumbs up emoji. We can jump on a call and see if it's a good fit to work together. I can hear more about your situation. Maybe we can bounce some ideas off each other. I can help you build out your strategy. We can talk more. The conversation doesn't have to end here. That being said, if you don't want to talk, if you just want to go do this on your own and like plug it in on your own, like go ahead and do it. Like it's hard. Like we had to do this on our own and like figure it out by ourselves, and it took us, a long time, like pretty much 5 years to like build this system that works and that we can replicate and use over and over again. But I showed you the system. Like I showed you acquisition events and fulfillment events. If you want to go do this on your own, go ahead and do it. But if you want to talk about how we can work together on your events, reply with a thumbs up. We could talk more and see if it's a good fit. If not, all good. I hope this was helpful for you. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to talk to you soon.